United States Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, kind of ripped apart the idea of globalization. Take a look.
We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum, and the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
I'm joined now by CBN's Billy Hallowell. Billy, what did you think about his comments?
His comments seem to coincide with the America First mentality, the idea that America, as a country needs to prioritize itself first before anything else. And I think there's obviously debate around this concept, but it is interesting to consider if you pull back when it comes to commerce, when it comes to trade, when it comes to all of these different things. Yes, we live in an interconnected world, right? Which is where globalization comes in. But we also live in a world in which we would often say, make sure your house is in order before you go out and deal with other people's houses. And so there is an element to this that does make structural sense. Now, not everybody's going to love the way that this, translates into policy, but I do think these are interesting comments. I think they are a departure from what we've seen in recent administrations that were not Republican administrations. And even within some of the Republican administrations, this is a very different way of doing things. And again, I think they are putting their money where their mouth is, at least when it comes to this issue of America First.
Yeah, this is definitely a change of pace from perhaps other administrations. President Trump himself spoke at the World Economic Forum, and if you want to look on social media, to say that it was spicy would be an understatement. Obviously, there is a large part of disagreeableness, and I don't mean that in a positive or negative way, that this current administration applies itself when speaking at events like this, of frankness, I guess you could say. And the idea is that this is just a departure from other administrations of how they maybe avoid the niceties and get right to the point. But I think one of the points that he made, which was actually kind of an interesting point, was saying, hey, you want to go carbon neutral and all this stuff, but the things that you need to do that, you don't even make. So you are basically making yourself dependent on other countries, literally dependent on other countries like China. So I do think he made some very logical points. But getting in the weeds of where people stand on the idea of globalization, I'll let the Trump administration speak for itself. But Billy, I appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you.